Stronger than you." Her power surged like a storm. The overseers staggered back as golden light poured from her, ripping through their control. Their weapons shattered, their armor cracked, their bodies thrown across the dock like broken statues. The remaining soldiers fled, their fear greater than their orders. The alarms still blared, but now the dock stood open, the way to the ships clear. Daniel struggled to his feet, his chest heaving. He stared at her, his mind racing. What just happened? She looked down at him, her eyes glowing softer now. "You gave me your strength, your thoughts, your will. Our bond is no longer whispers, human. It is a union." Daniel's stomach twisted. His voice trembled. "That means I'm part of you now?" Her lips curved into the faintest smile. She leaned closer, her golden eyes locking with his. "Yes, Daniel. You are mine. And I am yours." The sound of ships powering up shook the dock. More alarms screamed, deeper this time. The Empire would not stop. Reinforcements would arrive any moment. Daniel's pulse quickened. "We can't fight them all. What do we do now?" Her whisper came soft, almost like a secret. "We run. And when the time comes, we fight together." She reached down, lifting him effortlessly into her arms. He felt the heat of her armor, the steady thrum of her heartbeat. She carried him as if he weighed nothing. "Hold on, human," she whispered. The dock doors burst open. A ship waited, inside engines glowing, ready to fly. As she carried him aboard, Daniel looked back one last time. The station burned with alarms and golden fire. Soldiers lay scattered. Overseers groaned on the floor. He realized then that their lives had changed forever. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was part of something forbidden, something powerful, something that would shake the galaxy itself. The Giantess set him down inside the ship. As the engines roared to life, she leaned close, her voice brushing through his thoughts one final time. "Daniel, do you want to know the words I could never whisper before?" His chest tightened. "What words?" She smiled faintly, her eyes glowing. And then she whispered into his mind, words so soft, so powerful that Daniel felt his entire world shift. The audience would never hear them. But for Daniel, they changed everything. The escape attempt, the station no longer felt the same. The air was heavy, pressing like stone on Daniel's chest. Everywhere he walked, he felt eyes on him. The alien overseers lingered longer now, their golden gaze scanning him as if peeling back his skin. And every time their eyes locked on him, her voice rushed into his mind. "Stay calm. Think of nothing." But how could he? His thoughts screamed, his fear too loud to silence. He knew it. She knew it. And sooner or later, the others would know too. The truth came faster than he expected. One evening, Daniel left the engine bay late, carrying his tool bag through the long corridors. The lights flickered above, shadows stretching across the walls. He tried to focus on his steps to keep his thoughts quiet. Then he heard it. Boots. Heavy, metallic, echoing behind him. He turned. 3 alien soldiers approached, their armor gleaming, their weapons glowing faint blue. Their faces were hidden behind dark masks, but their intent was clear. Daniel's stomach dropped. He took a step back, pressing his bag close. "I'm just a worker," he muttered to himself. "I haven't done anything." But before fear could consume him, her whisper struck sharp and clear. "Run, human." The soldiers raised their weapons. Daniel bolted. His footsteps echoed wildly in the empty hall, his breath tearing through his chest. The station stretched like a maze, every corner endless, every door locked. Behind him, the soldiers shouted, in their alien tongue, their boots pounding closer. "Left," she whispered in his head. "Go left!" Daniel skidded into the next corridor, nearly falling. Sparks flew from a pipe above, showering the ground. His lungs burned. He could hear the soldiers firing, the hiss of energy bolts striking the walls, scorching metal inches. From his back, he stumbled around another corner, his bag slipping from his shoulder. Panic screamed through his veins. He was trapped, hunted, a rat in a cage. And then she appeared. The giantess stepped from the shadows, her golden eyes blazing. She towered in the corridor, her white hair glowing faintly in the blue light. For once she wasn't hiding. For once she wasn't a whisper in his head. She was there. Daniel skidded to a halt, his chest heaving. "They're coming," he gasped. "I know," she answered, but this time with her real voice, low and powerful. The soldiers rounded the corner, their weapons raised. Their helmets flickered with strange symbols as they scanned her. The leader shouted something sharp, commanding. The soldiers fanned out, blocking escape. The giantess stepped forward, her armor gleaming. Her voice thundered in Daniel's mind, "Stay behind me, human." The corridor shook as the soldiers opened fire. Blue bolts streaked through the air, hissing with deadly heat. Daniel threw himself against the wall, covering his head. But she didn't flinch. The giantess raised her hand, and the bolts stopped mid-air, glowing like trapped sparks. With a twist of her fingers, she hurled them back. The corridor exploded with light, soldiers crashing into the walls. Daniel's eyes widened. His chest thudded with awe and terror. She wasn't just hearing thoughts. She was bending them, twisting, minds and matter alike. The soldiers staggered up, shouting. One raised his weapon again, but she was faster. Her eyes flared gold. The soldier froze mid-step, trembling violently. His weapon clattered to the ground. He tried to speak, but no sound came. His helmet cracked as if crushed by invisible hands, and he fell limp to the floor. The others hesitated now, their steps faltering. "Go," she whispered to Daniel. "Run to the outer docks." Daniel obeyed, his legs moving before his mind caught up. He sprinted down the hall, the giantess following close behind, her footsteps like thunder. Soldiers regrouped, firing again, but every bolt was bent, twisted, and flung away by her unseen power. Daniel's breath tore through him as they reached a wide corridor leading toward the docks. The floor trembled beneath their feet, alarms blaring now. Red lights flashed, bathing the station in warning. "They know," she whispered into his mind. "The overseers know what I've done. They will come for us both." Daniel stumbled, forward, nearly collapsing. "We can't escape, this is their station." Her voice rang in his skull, fierce and unshakable. "Then we make it ours." They reached the dock gates, but more soldiers blocked the way. Dozens this time. Weapons raised, armor glowing. Their leader stepped forward, his mask gleaming. "Enough," he growled in a language Daniel didn't know, but somehow understood through her whisper. "You have broken the law of the Whisperers. Both of you will be erased." Daniel froze. His chest heaved. His mind screamed, but the giantess stood tall, her eyes burning brighter than ever. "No," she whispered back, her voice echoing in every corner of Daniel's mind. "I will not be erased, and neither will he." The soldiers moved as one, raising their rifles. She leaned down, her voice filling Daniel's skull. "Close your eyes, human." Daniel obeyed. The world erupted in fire. Light seared through the air, golden and fierce. Heat washed over him, even behind closed lids. The ground shook as if the station itself was breaking apart. Screams filled the corridor, alien voices twisted with fear. Daniel opened his eyes just enough to see the soldiers falling, their weapons melting, their armor cracking under invisible force. The air rippled with golden energy pouring from her, her presence filling the entire dock. She roared, not with her mouth, but with her mind. The sound rattled inside Daniel's skull, a wave of defiance so strong it drowned every other thought. When the light faded, the corridor was empty. Soldiers lay unconscious or broken, their weapons scattered. The alarm still blared, but the path to the outer docks was clear. Daniel stared at her, his chest heaving, his body shaking. What are you?" She turned to him, her eyes softening, though still burning with golden fire. "I am what they fear," she whispered. "And now you are part of it." Daniel's knees felt weak, his mind spun. The danger wasn't just near, it was here, swallowing them whole. But when she reached out her hand, Towering above him, he found himself taking it. Together, they stepped toward the dock doors, alarms screaming, enemies gathering, the entire station against them. And for the first time, Daniel knew there was no going back. The whisper that changed everything. The alarms never stopped. Red lights flashed across the alien station, sirens echoing through every corridor. Soldiers shouted in their sharp metallic tongue, boots hammering on the floors as they regrouped. Daniel and the Giantess moved quickly toward the outer docks, their shadows stretching long under the flashing lights. Daniel's chest heaved. His legs felt like stone, but her massive strides carried him forward. He clutched her hand as if it was the only thing keeping him alive. "We can't escape," he gasped. "There are too many of them. Too many ships." Her golden eyes burned, brighter as she looked down at him. "Do you trust me, human?" Daniel's throat tightened. He didn't know if he should, but his answer came before his fear. "Yes." The dock doors loomed ahead, towering metal gates sealed shut with glowing locks. Beyond them, Daniel could hear the deep hum of ships, ready to fly. But between them and freedom, a wall of soldiers waited. Dozens, maybe more. Their weapons glowed bright blue, trained on the intruders. At the front stood the overseers, two tall figures, their golden eyes sharp and merciless. One raised his voice, deep and booming, amplified through the sirens. "You have broken the ley, sacred law of the Whisperers," the overseer thundered. "You have tainted yourself with a human mind. You will be erased, both of you." Daniel froze, his breath shallow. He could feel the hatred pressing down on them, heavier than the alarms. He whispered in his mind, "This is the end." But her voice cut through his fear, strong and steady. "No, human. This is the beginning." The soldiers moved first, their weapons fired in unison, blue bolts screaming through the air. "Close your eyes," she whispered into Daniel's head. He obeyed. The air exploded. Golden light burst from her body, flooding the dock like fire. Daniel felt the heat rush past him, felt the floor tremble beneath his boots. Screams rang out, weapons clattered to the ground. When he opened his eyes, half the soldiers lay broken, or unconscious, their weapons melted. The overseers still stood, their golden eyes blazing with fury. They stepped forward together, their voices echoing like thunder. "You are no whisperer. You are a traitor." The Giantess stood taller, her hair glowing like silver flame. Her voice roared not with sound, but in every mind present. "No, I am free." The overseers struck. Their eyes burned bright, their hands raised. The air shook, a wave of unseen force slamming into her. Metal twisted, walls groaned, and Daniel was thrown to the ground. His head cracked against the floor, stars exploding in his vision. Through the haze, he saw her fall to one knee. The overseers pressed harder, their power like chains around her. Daniel's mind screamed, "No, get up, don't let them take you." And for the first time he felt something push back. His own thoughts, his own fear and defiance surged outward, not just to himself but to her. Her golden eyes snapped open, wider than before. She gasped, not in pain, but in shock. "You," she whispered into his mind. "I can feel you." Daniel's heart pounded. He didn't know what he was doing, but somehow his thoughts were flowing into her strength. His fear became her fire. His defiance became her weapon. The chains around her cracked. She rose to her feet, taller than ever. The overseer's eyes widened as her golden aura flared, brighter than theirs. "You bound yourself to him," one hissed. "You made him part of you." She stepped forward, her voice a roar that filled the entire dock. "Yes. And together, we are." Two alien overseers standing nearby. Their eyes glowed faintly as they watched the workers. He felt their gaze heavy on him, like they were listening. He thought quickly, forcing his mind silent. Her whisper came sharp, urgent. "Do not think of me. They are testing." Daniel tightened a bolt, sweat dripping down his back. He focused on the tool in his hand, on the sound of metal scraping. He repeated numbers in his head, anything to block the truth. The overseers finally turned away. Daniel let out a breath of relief. but her voice carried fear now. They are suspicious. They sense you are not like the others. They will watch closer. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He walked the corridors alone, the hum of the station surrounding him. His chest felt heavy, his mind restless. Finally, he whispered in his thoughts, "What happens if they find out?" Her reply came steady, but laced with sorrow. "Then they will. Tear our minds apart, mine because I broke their law, yours because you let me in." Daniel's knees weakened. He pressed a hand against the wall. "So this is a death sentence." Her whisper brushed his mind like a gentle hand. "No, human. It is life. For the first time, I am not alone. For the first time, you are not silent." Daniel closed his eyes, his chest tight. He wanted to argue, to push her away, but the truth was clear. He didn't want her to stop. He didn't want the bond to break, even if it was dangerous. At the far end of the corridor, a shadow moved. Daniel looked up sharply and saw her. The giantess stepped from the dark, her golden eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. For the first time, she stood close, not hidden among pillars or shadows. Her presence filled the corridor, towering and powerful, yet her gaze was steady and calm. Daniel's breath caught. His thoughts tumbled, but before he could speak, her voice filled his head. "Now you see me as I am, human. Not just a whisper, not just a thought, but a truth your kind should never know." Her words sank deep, heavy with meaning. Daniel stared up at her, his heart racing. Whatever secret she carried, whatever bond they shared, it was no longer something he could run from. The giantess leaned slightly closer, her voice a whisper only for him. "From this moment, Daniel, our lives are tied. Your thoughts are mine. My fate is yours." The forbidden connection. The alien station grew colder after that night. Daniel worked every day in the engine bay, tightening bolts, replacing wires, repairing machines. To the other humans, nothing seemed unusual. But for Daniel, every step, every sound, every glance carried a new weight, because now he knew the truth. The giantess wasn't just different. She was part of a powerful order that used their gift to control minds. And if the others discovered her bond with him, they would not forgive it. Her whispers hadn't stopped. They came when he was alone, when he was tired, when his thoughts drifted too far. But now, every time he heard her, fear struck through him like lightning. One morning, as he adjusted a coil inside a generator, her voice brushed into his thoughts. "You are tense today." Daniel nearly dropped his tool. He glanced around quickly, making sure no one was watching. "Stop talking to me while I work, someone might notice." Her whisper came calm but firm. "They do not notice. Only I do." He gritted his teeth. "That doesn't make it safe." Her pause was short. Then she whispered, "You are afraid of me now." Daniel froze. His heart beat fast. "No. I'm afraid of them. If they find out, they will not," she cut in quickly. "I will protect you." Daniel shook his head, sweat dripping from his brow. "You can't promise that." Her voice grew sharper, almost commanding. "I can, and I will." That evening, Daniel returned to the human quarters. The room buzzed with nervous talk. "2 workers were taken today," one man whispered. "Aliens said they were asking too many questions." Another leaned close. "They're watching us more closely now. Feels like they know something we don't." Daniel's stomach tightened. He climbed into his bunk silently, pulling the blanket up. But his thoughts wouldn't stay quiet. They're getting suspicious. If they look too closely, they'll find us. Her reply came instantly, soft but heavy. "Then we must be careful. Speak less, think less, trust only me." Daniel clenched his fists under the blanket. "This is wrong. I shouldn't even be talking to you." Her voice carried a sadness he hadn't heard before. "And yet you keep talking. Because you need me, human. Just as I need you." The next day, danger grew closer. While Daniel worked with the others, he felt a presence heavier than usual. Two alien overseers entered the bay, their eyes glowing faintly. They didn't speak, didn't move. They only watched. Daniel kept his head low, forcing himself to focus on the wires in his hands. His thoughts screamed. They know. They're testing me. Her whisper rushed into his mind, urgent. Silence, Daniel. Do not think of me. Focus only on the machine. He tried. He repeated numbers in his head, whispered formulas, forced himself to imagine Earth's oceans. But the pressure grew. The overseer's golden eyes lingered on him too long. Finally, they turned away. Daniel let out a shaky breath, his hands trembling. Sweat soaked through his shirt. Her voice filled his head again, softer now. You see? They suspect, but they do not know. Not yet. That night he didn't go to sleep. He left the quarters quietly and walked the empty corridors. His footsteps echoed, the cold metal floor sending a chill up his legs. Finally, he stopped in a shadowed hall and whispered in his mind, "This has to end. If we keep this bond, they'll find us both." Her reply came slow, almost wounded. "You want me to leave you?" Daniel pressed his back against the wall, his hands shaking. "I don't want to die because of this." Silence filled his mind. For a moment he thought she had gone, but then her voice returned, trembling. "I told you before, human. I cannot stop, even if I wanted to." Daniel shut his eyes. Why? Why risk everything? Her answer cut deep. "Because I am forbidden to feel, and yet with you I do." The air grew heavier between them in the days that followed. Daniel tried to keep his mind quiet, but it was impossible. Every stray thought seemed louder, sharper, more dangerous, and she always heard it. Sometimes she whispered to calm him. Other times her voice carried a fire that made his chest ache. At night, when he lay awake, she spoke of herself. "My people fear bonds. They fear closeness. They use us as weapons, but they never see us as alive. With you, I am alive." Daniel pressed his face into his pillow, whispering aloud, "You'll get us both killed." Her reply came soft and certain, "Or we will live, stronger than they imagine." The tension broke one evening. Daniel was walking back from the engine bay when he saw her. The Giantess stood in the open corridor, her golden eyes glowing in the dim light. She wasn't hiding now. She wasn't whispering from shadows. She was there, towering, undeniable. Daniel's heart leapt into his throat. He glanced around in panic. "What are you doing? Someone will see you," he hissed under his breath. Her whisper filled his mind firmer than ever. "Let them. I will not hide from them forever." Daniel shook his head, stepping back. "You're reckless if they see us together." Her eyes narrowed. "Then they will know that I chose you." Daniel's breath caught. Her words wrapped around him like chains. His chest burned, torn between fear and something he couldn't name. For a moment the corridor was silent. Only their gazes locked. Then she leaned closer, her whisper brushing through his mind, softer this time. "From this moment, Daniel, we are bound. No overseer, no empire, no law can break that." Daniel stood frozen, his heart hammering, his mind spinning with panic and awe. He knew their bond had crossed a line now. It was no longer a secret flirtation of whispers in the dark. It was something forbidden, something that could bring both salvation or destruction. This bond was dangerous. If the aliens discovered she was speaking with him, if they learned she was hearing his thoughts, it could mean punishment or worse. And yet he couldn't deny the truth. He was drawn to her. He whispered into the empty corridor, his voice trembling. "What are you?" Her reply came softly, almost like a secret. "I am of a kind you cannot yet understand. But for now, I am yours to whisper to, as you are mine." Daniel closed his eyes, his heart racing. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But one thing was clear. This connection was only growing stronger. And in the silent halls of the alien station, the bond between human and giantess had begun. Whispers in the dark. The alien station never truly slept. Even at night, machines hummed, pipes rattled, and strange lights glowed faintly across the walls. But for Daniel, the nights were the hardest. That was when the silence pressed heavy, and when her voice always seemed closest. He lay on his bunk, staring at the metal ceiling. Other workers snored around him, exhausted from long shifts. Daniel turned onto his side, trying to clear his mind. But the harder he tried, the louder his thoughts became, and she heard them. "You cannot hide from me, human." Her voice whispered inside his head, calm and clear. Daniel flinched, pulling the blanket tighter. "Stop doing this," he thought sharply. "These are my private thoughts." Her voice came softer now, like a sigh brushing across his mind. "You keep saying that, but still you think of me. You do not truly want me to stop." Daniel's heart thudded. She was right, and he hated it. He wanted his mind to be his own, but he couldn't stop thinking of her golden eyes, her towering frame, the way she whispered as if she had always been there. "What do you want from me?" he thought angrily. There was a pause. Then her answer came, slower this time. Not power, not secrets, only truth. "I want to know what you feel." Daniel sat up in his bunk, his fists clenched. He looked around to be sure the others were asleep. Then he whispered under his breath, "Why? Why me?" Her reply slid into his head like water into cracks. "Because your feelings are loud. When you are afraid, I taste it. When you hope, I see light. And when you remember Earth?" Her voice grew almost warm. "I see oceans, skies, and storms through your eyes. No other human's mind shows me so much." Daniel pressed his hands against his face. "This is insane. You're not supposed to feel what I feel, that's mine. And yet I do," she whispered, "because our minds are closer than you think." The next day, Daniel worked with trembling hands. Every clang of his wrench against metal reminded him that she was listening. If he cursed inside, she laughed softly. If he grew tired, she told him to rest. He hated it, but at the same time, her voice made the endless work feel less lonely. When the shift ended, he stayed behind in the engine bay. The others left, their footsteps fading down the corridor. Daniel sat on the floor against the wall, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Are you here?" he asked silently. "Yes, human," came her whisper. "Always." He exhaled slowly. "Why do you keep following me?" Her reply sent a chill down his spine. "Because I am not supposed to. And yet I cannot stop." Daniel's brows furrowed. "What do you mean?" Her voice lowered as if afraid. "My kind are trained to use our gift only for command. We are meant to hear thoughts, control them, bend them. But I refuse. I listen only. And I chose you." Daniel's stomach twisted. "So the others, they can hear too?" "Yes," she admitted. "But not like me. The others obey rules. They would never whisper back. If they knew I spoke to you, they would silence me and take you away." Daniel's breath caught. His throat went dry. He whispered aloud, "Take me away? Why?" Her voice carried a weight that felt like chains. "Because humans are not supposed to bond with us, it is forbidden. If they sense how close we are, they will see you as a danger, and they will not let you live." The words hit Daniel like a blow. He leaned forward, gripping his knees. His chest tightened, his heartbeat loud in his ears. "Then stop talking to me," he thought harshly. "If it's that dangerous, stop before they find out." But her answer came quick, fierce and filled with something almost like desperation. "No, I cannot." Daniel froze. Her voice softened again, trembling. "I have lived surrounded by silence, hearing thoughts but never answering them. You are the first I have spoken to, the first who looked at me. I will not give that up, even if it is forbidden." Daniel's mind spun. Fear knotted his stomach, but beneath it was something else. Something that pulled him toward her despite everything. "Why me?" he whispered again, his thought weak. Her voice brushed his mind like a hand against his cheek. "Because when you think, you do not just think words. You feel, and I feel with you." Daniel's eyes stung. He didn't know why, but her words cut deep. He had always been just another worker, just another human. But to her, he was different. That night, Daniel left the quarters quietly. He wandered the dark halls, his footsteps echoing softly. He didn't know where he was going, only that he couldn't stay still. Finally, he stopped in a long corridor lit by faint blue lines on the walls. The silence was heavy, pressing on his chest. He whispered in his thoughts, "Are you here?" The answer came immediately. "Yes, human." Daniel's throat tightened. "Then tell me the truth. What are you really?" For a moment there was no answer. Then, her voice returned, low and steady. "I am of the Whisperers, an order feared even among my people. We were made to break minds, to crush will. But I broke from them. I do not wish to destroy, I wish to understand." Daniel's skin prickled. His breath came quick. "And me? What am I to you?" Silence filled his head. Then softly, "You are the first who does not feel like an enemy." Daniel pressed a hand against the cold wall, his legs weak. His life had changed in ways he couldn't control. An alien giantess could hear his every thought. She was supposed to use that power for command, for control, but instead she whispered to him, choosing him against the rules of her kind. It was dangerous. It was forbidden. And yet Daniel felt it too. The bond was growing. He closed his eyes, whispering into his own mind. "What happens if they find out?" Her voice came soft, almost sad. "Then, human, we will both pay the price." Secrets revealed. The following days moved like shadows. Daniel worked with the other humans, fixing pipes, welding broken metal, tightening bolts. To anyone watching, he looked normal, just another worker doing his job. But inside, his thoughts were never his own anymore. She was always there. Every thought he had, she heard. Every fear, every memory, every small flicker of curiosity, she whispered back. Sometimes her voice was calm and comforting, sometimes heavy with warnings. And though Daniel told himself to resist, to fight the connection, deep inside he was no longer afraid of her. He was afraid of everyone else. It happened one evening after the shift. The other workers had gone back to their quarters, leaving Daniel alone in the engine bay. The machines were silent now, and the only sound was the faint hum of the alien station. He sat on a crate, wiping sweat from his face. He whispered in, his mind, "You're here, aren't you?" Her reply came at once. "Yes, human," he exhaled. "You said the others could hear thoughts too. Why do they let humans work here if they can read us so easily?" There was silence for a moment, and then her voice lowered, serious. "Because they do not waste their gift on you. To them, you are tools. Nothing more. They only listen when they suspect danger." Daniel's chest tightened. "And you? You waste it on me?" Her voice came soft, almost sharp at the edges. "No, I do not waste it. I choose it." Daniel leaned back, staring at the dark ceiling. "You keep saying you're different, but what are you really?" This time she didn't answer immediately. Her silence stretched long enough that Daniel thought she might have left. But then her whisper returned, quiet, heavy with something deeper. "My people call us whisperers. We are born with the ability to hear minds, not just words, but feelings, fears, and secrets. We are raised to use it for power, to break minds, bend wills, and command obedience." Daniel swallowed hard. His stomach knotted. "That sounds like control. Slavery." "Yes," she admitted. "That is what my kind does. We are weapons wearing human shape. That is why the others fear us. That is why even among my people we walk apart." Her voice grew softer, trembling faintly. But I refused. I did not want to use my gift to crush. I wanted to use it to listen. To understand. Daniel's heart thudded. He felt her words pressing into him, heavy but true. So you're a rebel among your own kind? Her reply carried a hint of pride. Yes, and that is why they watch me closely. That is why I must hide my whispers with you. Daniel's mind raced. If the aliens discovered her speaking with him, if they found out about their bond, it would mean disaster. He had no doubt they would punish her. And him? He would be erased. But despite the danger, he couldn't stop himself from asking, why risk everything for me? Her answer slipped into him like a secret confession. Because you are the first voice that made me feel alive. Daniel rubbed his face with shaking hands. His thoughts spun too fast. This is madness. If the others find out, they will destroy us both, she finished for him. Yes, but I will not let them take you without a fight. Daniel froze. Her voice had grown sharper, almost fierce. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was protection. He whispered aloud into the empty room. Why me? I'm just a mechanic. A nobody. Her reply came like a whisper wrapped in fire. You are not nobody to me. The next day, the danger became real. While Daniel worked with a group of humans repairing an air shaft, he noticed the strange meeting. The transport ship shook as it landed on the alien station. Metal plates groaned, engines hissed, and dust filled the docking bay. For most of the humans on board, this was just another contract. Repair work on engines, welding, broken plates, and cleaning systems no one else wanted to touch. But for Daniel, it was his first time leaving Earth. His stomach tightened as he stepped onto the ramp. The alien station was massive. Black metal walls rose high, glowing with faint blue light that pulsed like veins. The ceiling seemed endless, the pillars stretching toward a sky of shadows. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls, symbols Daniel didn't understand. The air itself felt heavy, filled with a humming energy that made the hair on his arms stand. He clutched his tool bag tighter and followed the line of workers. They walked quietly, keeping their heads low. Everyone had been warned. Do not stare. Do not speak out of turn and never insult the aliens. They were powerful, older than humanity, and they allowed humans here only as guests and as workers. Alien guards stood at the gates, tall and armored, with glowing weapons strapped to their arms. Their eyes, sharp and cold, followed the humans, but did not speak. Daniel kept his gaze on the floor, moving with the others. He told himself to breathe slowly, to act like he belonged here. But then, something made him stop. At the far end of the hall, between two glowing pillars, stood a figure unlike the others. She was tall. No, she was enormous, a giantess. Her skin shimmered blue, glowing faintly under the cold light. Long white hair fell down her back like flowing silk, and her eyes burned gold, sharp but calm. She wore silver armor across her chest and arms, decorated with symbols that seemed alive with light. Every line of her body spoke of strength, but her expression was unreadable, and she was staring at him. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. The other workers kept walking, not noticing, but her golden eyes locked onto him and he felt frozen in place. His thoughts rushed in panic. She's beautiful, but terrifying. Please don't come closer. And then it happened. The giantess tilted, her head slightly. Her lips curved into a faint smile, and in a deep but soft voice she whispered, Yes, human, I heard you. Daniel's blood ran cold. He hadn't spoken. The words had only been in his head. Yet she had answered. The noise of the docking bay faded, the footsteps of workers, the hum of machines. It all blurred into nothing. Daniel stood, rooted to the ground, staring at her. You can hear me? He whispered out loud, his voice breaking. Her golden eyes glowed brighter for a moment. She did not step closer, but her voice reached him again, though her lips barely moved. I can hear your thoughts, human. Daniel's chest tightened. His mind raced. This can't be real. This isn't happening. She can't actually. Yes, I can, she whispered, interrupting his thought. Daniel stumbled back, his bag slipping from his shoulder. His hands shook, sweat dampening his palms. He wanted to run, but his legs wouldn't obey. The giantess finally moved. She took a single step forward, and the ground seemed to tremble beneath her weight. Daniel's breath hitched. He felt smaller than ever before, like an insect standing before a mountain. Yet her voice, though powerful, was not angry. It was calm, almost gentle. Do not fear me, she whispered again. I will not harm you. Daniel's throat was dry. He forced himself to swallow. His voice came out weak. Why me? Her answer flowed into his mind, like an echo bouncing inside his skull. Because you think louder than the others. Daniel's heart pounded so hard he thought she must hear that too. He wanted to block his thoughts, to silence his mind, but the harder he tried, the more his thoughts raced. What does she want? Why is she staring at me? She knows I'm afraid. She knows I think she's... The giantess leaned slightly closer, her golden eyes narrowed, gleaming. Yes, human, she whispered into his thoughts. I know what you think, and you are right. Daniel's face burned with heat. He wanted to shout, to demand she stop, but no sound came out. He was caught, trapped between terror and a strange pull he could not explain. Her presence filled his mind like a tide, pressing against his thoughts yet not crushing them. It was as if she was listening not just to his words but to his soul. And then, just as suddenly, she turned away. Her long hair shimmered as she stepped back into the shadows of the hall. Her armor gleamed faintly before fading into the dark. Her footsteps echoed softly, then disappeared. The spell broke. The noise of the station rushed back, workers shouting, machines hissing, footsteps clanging on metal floors. Daniel stood frozen, his heart still hammering, his mind spinning out of control. Had that really happened? Had an alien giantess overheard his private thoughts and whispered back into his mind? He couldn't tell anyone. No one would believe him. They would laugh, or worse, they would report him to the aliens. So he stayed silent. He bent, grabbed his bag with shaking hands, and forced himself to follow the others. But every step felt heavy. His mind repeated the same words again and again. She heard me. She answered me. Daniel knew one thing for certain. Whatever had just happened, his life on this alien station would never be the same again. The silent bond Daniel tried to convince himself that what happened in the docking hall had been a dream. Maybe the long space journey had played tricks on his mind. Maybe he was so tired that he imagined her voice. That had to be it. But deep inside he knew it wasn't. He had seen her golden eyes. He had heard her whisper in his mind. And no dream could feel that real. The following day, Daniel worked in the engine bay with other humans. The job was loud and hot. Sparks flying from welding rods, tools clattering against metal. The air was thick with smoke and the humming of machines. Daniel forced himself to focus. He checked bolts, tested wiring, and replaced a broken power coil. His hands moved automatically, but his mind wasn't on the work. His mind was replaying the moment in the hall. The giantess, her golden eyes, her soft whisper. Because you think louder than the others. Every time he remembered those words, his chest tightened. He tried to bury the thought, but no matter how hard he worked, she was there in his mind. And then, it happened again. Still thinking about me. Human. Daniel almost dropped the coil. His eyes darted around. No one else had reacted. The other workers kept talking, shouting over the machines. He swallowed hard. You again? Her voice was calm, sliding into his head like a quiet breath. Yes. Again. Daniel's grip tightened on the tool in his hand. His heart pounded. Stop doing this. Someone will notice me acting strange. Only I hear you, she whispered. Only I answer. He clenched his jaw. He wanted to shut her out, but his thoughts betrayed him. Why me? Why are you watching me? Her answer came quickly. Because you are different, your mind is louder, clearer. The others, they are quiet, empty. But you... She paused, and he felt warmth in her voice. You are alive. Daniel's skin prickled. He hated how her words made his chest feel heavy, almost important. That night after work, he returned to the human quarters. The room was small, metal walls humming with weak lights. Other workers lay in their bunks, exhausted, already asleep. Daniel sat on his bed, staring at the floor. He told himself to sleep. Tomorrow would be harder. But as he closed his eyes, he heard her again. You do not sleep easily. Daniel sat up, his pulse racing. He whispered into the dark. Where are you? There was no movement, no sound, yet her voice echoed inside him, closer than before. I am near. I do not need to stand before you to hear you. He pressed a hand against his chest. This isn't fair. These are my private thoughts. They are yours, she said softly. But when they touch me, I cannot ignore them. Daniel shook his head. He wanted to be angry, but her voice wasn't harsh. It was gentle, almost lonely. What do you want from me? He asked in his mind. There was a pause. Then she whispered, Not what? Who? I want to know you, human. Days passed, and the strange bond only grew. Daniel would be working with tools when suddenly she'd answer his thoughts. If he cursed at a broken machine, she would laugh softly in his head. If he felt tired, she would whisper, Rest, human. Your body is small but valuable. Sometimes he tested her. He thought of random words, numbers, even songs from Earth. Every time she repeated them back, proving she could hear him. But what unsettled him most was how she seemed to feel his emotions. When he was frustrated, she grew quiet. When he was afraid, her voice softened as if to calm him. And once, when he felt a surge of joy remembering Earth's oceans, he swore he heard her whisper with something like, wonder, blue water, endless, beautiful. It was more than thought reading. It was a connection. One evening after finishing a long repair shift, Daniel walked through the silent halls alone. The alien station loomed around him, its lights casting long shadows. He tried not to think of her, but the silence pressed too heavy. Are you here? He thought. The answer came instantly. Yes, human, I am always near. His steps slowed. His throat tightened. Why me? Out of all the humans here, why choose me? For the first time, her voice seemed quieter, almost hesitant. Because you looked at me. The others keep their eyes on the ground. But you saw me. Daniel stopped walking. His chest felt strange, heavy with something he couldn't name. He didn't know if it was fear or something else. I wasn't supposed to. I was scared. Yes, she whispered. But even in fear, you saw me. And now, I see you. He reached his quarters, but instead of entering, he leaned against the cold wall, his mind spinning.